What is going on, guys? In light of the revelation I had, let's say, of last day's videos, yesterday's video on the Leopard, I decided that Heat FS wasn't really the meta anymore. So this led me to this video. What is the best round in War Thunder? Hello, Duke. How are you doing? So the best round in War Thunder depends on what tier you're in, what nation you're in, and stuff like that. So it's a variable kind of thing. Also, I would say it depends on what you personally enjoy using. You know, if you like rounds that don't drop as much, you might like an APFSDS round more than a HFS round because of the aiming ease. But there is one true winner in terms of the best round in the game. So in the background, I'm going to be showing some gameplay, and I just want you guys to listen to my ideas and what I'm talking about in terms of the best round in game. Now I'm going to be very broad about this. I'm going to break it down for anything below tier 4, the best round, and anything above tier 4, the best round. So, and when I say below tier 4, I mean like tier 4 and below. Tier 5 is a different beast all its own. It has a lot of different rounds that we don't really see in the lower tiers, and they all perform pretty differently. So the first thing everybody's going to ask is Hesh. Hesh has to be the best round in the game. No. I think Hesh is one of the most powerful rounds in the game, but it has so many limitations that I wouldn't call it the best round. There's a lot of things that it can't do. It has a very slow velocity. It's hard to aim for newcomers. Once you get the hang of it, you'll start to notice the RNG of the round. Sometimes you'll pen certain areas, sometimes you won't. And that's all, quote unquote, you know, up to speculation because technically the round doesn't pen. But in terms of how it works in game is the tanks it kills vary. It varies. You can't really kill an IS-4 with 105 Hesh, but 120 will kill an IS-4. And it's very limited use, even in the general scheme of things. I tend to use Hesh reliably in events for sim when I know I'm only facing Russians, or in games when I'm only facing Russian tanks, because they have the thin armor that's angled really well, but Hesh doesn't give a shit about angles, so it kills them very easily. Next would be Heat FS. Heat FS's cone has been changed a bit. And I also don't like the trajectory anymore. It's not that easy to aim. So the fact that it's a lob shell, more so now, and it has a lot of bugs. It gets eaten by tracks, it gets eaten by side skirts, it gets eaten by spaced armor. The Heat FS is not the end all be all anymore. It's tough to go through certain parts of enemy vehicles. You run into a T10 from the side, it gets eaten by spaced armor, or it'll penetrate and just yellow people, and you're left confused. Why did my shot not pen? Next thing we have to talk about is APFSDS. So these are all tier 5 rounds that we're talking about. APFSDS. This is a penetrating rod, needle type shell, and what I believe is one of the best rounds in game. We're going to group this with APDS. So Duke wants to whine in the background. We're going to group this with APFSDS and APDS. So these rounds are, in my opinion, the best rounds for tier 5 right now. We have the Chieftain that fires the best APDS round in the game. This round is phenomenal. It will go through any tank from the front, regardless of how sloped it is. It will go through most tanks. You will pen. I don't think there's any tank that you can not penetrate from the front in any situation, if that makes any sense. Regardless of how well armored and how well angled the enemy tank is, you will always have at least a slim chance to go through in a certain spot. I think it has upwards of 400 millimeters of penetration, which is pretty crazy, even in terms of Heat FS that doesn't really pen that much. So, and then the APFSDS has the best velocity in game, along with the APFS or the APDS. They both have the best velocity, so they're the easiest to aim. If you like using mill sights very widely and really calculating your shots, maybe these aren't the rounds for you because they're very tough to judge. Mill sights are the lines that you see in your scope when you're aiming. The sights are so close on some of these rounds in top tier that you kind of just have to wing it. You kind of have to guess, and it can be very small adjustments. But when you're anywhere within 1,000 meters from an enemy tank, there is no guessing. You aim and click pretty much, and it will go where you need to go. It helps with leading when the round goes faster. You don't have to lead as much, and you don't have to aim as high as much, so it's just overall an easier round. Now, below tier 5, we do have some APDS, but I wouldn't call it the best APDS. We have small round APDS and small round AP rounds that don't do as much damage as the top tier ones. A 115 millimeter APFSDS shell is going to have a lot more punch than a 76 millimeter APDS shell. So That's where that comes in. The king round at lower tiers is definitely by far APC, BC, HE with the HE filler. So any type of round with an HE filler is phenomenal at tiers lower and even higher. Tier 5 APHE is great. The only reason I didn't mention it is because there's only like one tank that reliably shoots it, which is the T55A. All the other tanks really have either Heat FS, APCR, APDS, or Hesh. There's no, like I said, the only tank that really fires APHE are the two Russian tanks. And the T10M with APHE is what I run when I play the T10M. It dumps on people. I mean, it dumps. If you penetrate, you kill. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you penetrate a tank with that AP shell, regardless of where you penetrate, you are killing or knocking out that tank for several seconds, maybe 30 to 40 seconds. And it's the same thing at lower tier. The APHE, when it pens, will destroy whatever it hits, regardless of what type of tank you're shooting at, regardless of where you hit it. It will usually kill if it penetrates. And that's basically it. If you guys are curious to my thoughts on the best rounds in game, the way I judge my rounds are TNT filler over penetration, which is odd, but for example, the Tiger 1s. The Tiger 1s shoot Panzergranat 39s and Panzergranats. I use the Panzergranat rounds. I sacrifice about 15 millimeters of penetration for extra TNT inside the round, about 3 times as much, 2 or 3 times as much. And what that means is if I penetrate, the tank will die. I don't have to worry about overpen. I don't have to worry about the tank round penetrating and only killing some guys. If it is even close to an ammo rack, that shit is detonating and the tank is dying. So I hope you take the knowledge, if you're new to the game, that I told you today and start using it. If you're a vet of the game but you haven't tried the new meta of APDS or APFSDS, try some Solid Shot now. It's really, really good. Some honorable mentions, we'll call it, for really good rounds at top tier are the M103's AP round. It is phenomenal. It got buffed. This tank shoots Heat FS and AP, just straight AP, and the AP is like a 120 millimeter bowling ball. If it penetrates, it will cause massive spalling damage. But it's so limited in the game in terms of only on one vehicle that, again, I didn't really want to mention it. I wanted to talk about rounds that are spread across multiple vehicles. So for example, on my Leopard, I use APDS with a mix of Hesh now. For the T55, I use APFSDS with a mix of AP, HE, Chieftain, Hesh, and APDS, STB, Hesh, and APDS. And I use that pretty much on every vehicle now in my top tier lineup. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. Let me know what your favorite round in-game to use vehicle specific is. I think mine has to be the KV2 AP round. I know it's funny because a lot of people use HE on the derp guns, but I love the AP round because it penetrates concrete in real life. That's what it was meant to do. So the concrete penetrating round versus the tank implodes vehicles. It just feels so powerful. So that's probably my favorite round to use in game. Let me know what yours is in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Bitter pill keep throwing you back. Nothing but empty sugar, no high, just crash. Tongue got me numb, I lose the words.